Hello, my name is Roman Djindjihashvili and welcome to instructional opening video. Many years ago, I would say more than 20, maybe 25 years ago, I made my first 10 videos. They weren't DVDs yet. And one of the videos was crashing lines against Caro-kann, Alekhine, and a couple of other openings. But you have to know one thing. Every opening theory, every variation in every opening, sooner or later gets outdated and is somehow loses the strength. So now, about 25 years later, I have to make few revelations. Out of these videos, we had very wide demand for this crashing line videos, and we couldn't make enough videos to satisfy the demand. Now I want to make few corrections for some people that trying to play those variations. I'm not gonna say they are not good anymore. No, they are. But their significant adjustments were made based on powerful chess programs such as Rybka and number of others. Well, I have to go through some positions with a very careful analysis. Well, we have some good news and some bad news. The good news is that analysis that were made by me, very careful analysis, they are very credible because they double checked and triple checked by these powerful engines. And also they are good because I played those openings, those variations against very strong players. This is the good news. Then what might be the bad news? The bad news is, since all these moves were never played, and most of the variations, they were never played before, specifically the Alekhine defense. There were not too many simple games, but I found one very typical game that I played with Alekhine that I played myself. This game is highly instructive, and we're gonna go through this, and I hope you enjoy that. So let's start this opening revelations with Alekhine defense. We're going to be covering Alekhine defense, center counter, Caro-kann, but let's start with Alekhine defense. E4, knight f6, e5, knight d5. In my opening recommendations, I say to play d4 and get opening advantage this way. But that will be very well known variation. The variation that I had many years ago problems. The other opening where we had some very interesting suggestions in original crushing lines video was panel Botvinnik attack in Caro-kann. So what we had, now I'm going to give you the updated and upgraded version of it. E4, C6, D4, D5, ED, CD, C4, knight F6, knight C3, and here black practically has three moves: E6, G6, and knight C6. Line we were discussing is with the most, by far the most popular move, which is E6. And it went like knight F3, bishop E7, C takes D, knight takes D5, bishop D3, castling, castling. And that's another position after knight C6 and rook E1, where black has a couple of choices. There are knight F6 or the bishop F6. Well, move B6 is not a good move because after knight takes D5, black immediately gets in trouble. After ED, there is a bishop takes H7 move, winning a pawn simply for white and taking the knight on C6. That's not acceptable for black, and taking with the queen is not much better because same queen C2 or maybe even bishop E4 first, attacking the queen. It's the same concept on a queen D6, now queen C2 attacking the knight and H7 pawn. So you shouldn't expect this to happen in your game because people that play that, they would play one of the bishop F6 or knight F6. Big chapter in our first video on crushing lines was dedicated to a French defense. Well, French defense with bishop D2 variation. Bishop B4, E5, and on C5, bishop D2. Now, some things are stay the same, but some things have changed in French defense. I developed it further and with the great help of my dedicated friend Rybka, and I analyzed, and now I have definite conclusion. The line is good. Bishop D2 is still good. We have to make several adjustments, including additional option for black. Well, we had as a main option knight E7, and that's what we're gonna do first. In knight E7 line, I want to go through some changes that I will show you now. Knight B5, bishop takes D2, queen takes D2, castling. This is most controversial line and most challenging line to play for black. Knight C6, knight F3, and now A6. Well, we play knight D6. This is still, we are going through unchanged part. Black takes on D4, white has to play bishop D3, and now F6, attacking the pawn on E5, castling, F takes C, F takes C. Now, this position was well analyzed by us but not to the perfection. Well, we mentioned that knight takes e5 is not a good idea to play for black, and this is unchanged because knight takes e5, rook takes f1, rook takes f1, queen takes d6, queen f4, creating the threat of the checkmate on f8. And bishop d7 is also leading to checkmate because queen f8 check, followed by mate on f7. So the only move that black has here is knight f5, but that all that we had in original DVD like 13 or 14 years ago. Queen g5, and black can resign because there is no defense to rook f6. For example, on bishop d7, there is rook f6, and there is no defense to rook takes h6. This is easy win for white. Where we revise. In addition to these three openings, I want to suggest some novelty and some interesting idea in another opening. Another opening that we never covered in Crushing Lines a decade and a half ago, but I think it's very, very interesting. And I have no doubt in my mind that a lot of you guys will use it because it's exciting, it's credible, and it's new. This is about center counter. In center, e4, d5, ed, queen takes d5, knight c3, queen a5. Now, well, the main move is d4 here. And there's a lot of theory about knight f6, knight f3, then c6. But there is a difference if we play knight f3 first. Although theory does not recommend to play knight f3 before playing d4, because that gives black an opportunity to play early bishop g4. Well as they also can play bishop f5, of course. Well, on bishop f5 and on bishop g4, we have the same idea. We played slightly differently, but let's see bishop f5 first. b4. This is not a crazy move. This is not, I would never recommend crazy move. Every move I recommend, first I have to have an explanation, logical explanation that I can back it up with.